Hello people, welcome back to the channel. One look at all the videos within the channel and you will know that KGF has been a big part of the moderate amount of success that the channel has had. I think the top 3 videos are KGF teaser, KGF trailer 1 and KGF trailer 2. They account for a majority of the views on this channel. It could not have been the case that I don't go out and see the movie. It took me a bit of a time, but I've finally done that. I've seen the movie and here is the review. Just the outline of the plot for those who have not watched this movie. KGF is this gold mine and Rocky is born at the same time when the gold is discovered. So the story of Rocky and this gold mine are closely linked. He grows up in a really poor family to a single mother who goes through a lot of struggles to raise him and unfortunately dies very early on in his childhood. And that's where the story starts. Yash, who plays the role of Rocky, inspired by his mother's words, goes out in search of becoming a really rich and powerful person.
मुझसे वादा कर, तू कैसे जिएगा मुझे नहीं पता, लेकिन जब मौत आई, तो दुनिया का सबसे ताकतवर और अमीर बनकर मरेगा.
The whole story is narrated by Anant Nag as part of an interview.
Powerful people come from powerful places.
So he has written a book which was destroyed, what seemed like was the emergency period, and then it has been discovered, and nobody can believe what is written in that. So he is interviewed and he is telling us this story, which I think was a really clever touch because a lot of the characters around him who are listening to this story, they go through the same kind of emotions that as a viewer I did.
मतलब हार क्या आपका हीरो? अब क्या करेगा आपका हीरो?
A lot of the questions that they asked or their belief or disbelief at some of the things, it closely mimicked my own. I found that quite an interesting way of portraying this story. Rocky moves to Bombay and then becomes a gangster over there, and quite a notorious one, and he is headhunted to do a big job. Anything more than this will spoil the movie for those who have not watched it, so I'll leave the plot over here. I think this gives enough of the context for me to go into this review. When I watched the movie, I was quite pleased with myself because although the trailers were really interesting, they didn't really give out a lot of the story, and I made a few guesses, and you can go and watch especially the second trailer reaction that I did. I was quite pleased with myself because that came to my mind because that I thought was a really interesting way of taking the story forward. Even while I was watching the movie, I was getting more and more interested. I would, however, say that this movie is not perfect. Now, hold on, before you close the video or write down a comment, I say that for a reason. I think if this movie was made on its own and it was not called Chapter 1 and there wasn't a clear indication that there will be a follow-up to this story, there were parts of this movie which I found a little bit frustrating because they did not seem to move the story along a lot. I felt like the time was being wasted over there. But as the story progressed, as more and more was revealed and as further events happened, all of it made sense. They have done a really good job of setting up the scene of Chapter 2 and what is going to happen. It really heightens the anticipation for that. While I was watching it, the first half, although that was interesting, I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary. A lot of the stuff that they were showing, although it did a really good job of building up the character of Rocky, I found it a little bit too over the top for my liking. So all the extras that were employed as goons, their acting was very amateurish. So this was one of the points that I really liked when I watched the trailers, because the extras that were shown working in the mine, their acting I felt was really top notch. I felt that was a really good job by the director to get that kind of emotion out of those extras. While the goons who were employed in the first half, they were completely the opposite. So I was a little bit worried when I was watching that. I was like, I almost dreaded that the whole movie is going to be like that. So the first half when Rocky is acting as this goon outside of the mines, and then he goes over to Bangalore and he's trying to woo this girl, I think a lot of that was very, very cliched. The only thing that made it bearable was Yash. He completely personifies what the director was trying to show Rocky to be. His screen presence is absolutely phenomenal. When he walks into any scene, he completely owns it. So he was the most impressive actor that was there in this movie. But I think that was also down to the fact that there wasn't a lot else for the other characters to do. Even Garuda, who was supposed to be the villain number one in this one, I don't think that character had a lot to offer. So halfway down the movie and I'm thinking to myself, this is a good watch. I'm enjoying it so far, but I don't think I will remember it for too long. And that was a mistake. Rocky tries to do the job that he's been brought to Bangalore for and he fails. And this is the turning point in the movie. This scene and this dialogue of Yash.
लड़ाई में कौन पहले मारता है इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता फर्क इससे पड़ता है कि पहले कौन नीचे गिरा.
It made me sit up and take notice. And I was like, yes, this is when the movie is going to change. The movie before and after this scene, I wouldn't say they are the polar opposites of this because both have good parts in it. Even the first half is not that bad. I mean, I might have made it sound like it's really bad, but it's not that bad. But the level of quality that changes after this scene, when Rocky goes to the KGF mines, and the whole scenery, the whole feel of the movie changes. The director has done an exceptionally good job in making you feel this dread and this hopelessness of working in those mines, that I was worried for Rocky for a minute when he ends up over there. I was like, what's he going to do? How is he going to get out from there? Then onwards, all the details, all the actors, all the sequences, they are absolutely flawless. I couldn't fault them. I was so absorbed in that. I was so absorbed in that story. I was so absorbed in those performances. Even little details were set up perfectly. This is supposed to be a closed off mine. Nobody knows about this. Nobody knows what happens over here. People are forced to work over there. And once you get in, you can't get out. So the kind of toys that the children are playing with, the mode of entertainment that the adults have, it is all brought alive so well by the director. By the time the movie ends, the whole graph of the movie, it has gone to such a level, and I'm thinking, wow, this is really well done. And then they introduce the characters that will play a central role in the next one. So the movie ended on a real high. I think it has done such a good job of setting it up for chapter 2. So I've always done things a bit late on the channel, but I think this time I've had an advantage because of that. So this announcement of Sanjay Dutt playing the role of Adhira, I think that could be a masterstroke. So they did not reveal Adhira in chapter 1, but he has already been built up as a massive character, and you need someone to fill those shoes. You need someone to have that kind of screen presence to come and execute that role. And I think Sanjay Dutt might just be the perfect guy for this. Overall, this is a vehicle for Yash. He does everything brilliantly. He does everything perfectly. Even situations which are not perfectly crafted for him, he owns the screen and he makes this movie worth a watch, even in scenes which are not 100% perfect. Ultimately, this is a movie that you cannot afford to miss. While there may be certain flaws in the first half, the movie makes up for those in the second half, and it sets you up for a big payoff in chapter 2. So don't miss this movie. If you can watch it in Kannada, watch it with English subtitles. I think that will give you the best experience possible. If you can't do that, just watch it any way you can. You will miss out on a really good movie with a really good performance from Yash, but more importantly, you will miss out on chapter 2, which I think will be phenomenal. Let me know what you thought of the movie. If you have not watched it so far, when are you going to do that? And if you have watched the movie, which character are you most looking forward to in chapter 2? Write it down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends and family.